So when I met SD, I asked him what SD stood for, and he said super dude. So super dude, you're on.
You could say Sequoia de Chua, but I understand. It's too much to remember. So I want to extend a thank you to everyone for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Giving me a chance to maybe talk a little about myself without somebody telling me to shut up, hopefully. But before we begin, I'd like to, I always like to honor the ancestors, honor the spirits of the land, and those walked before, and there's burning sage offering here. And I always like to start with a song. That is a Cherokee blessing song. So, as you see, the exhibition is made up of paintings, gourds, and masks, which are my principal art forms, although I dabble in a lot of things. I grew up around the Smoky Mountains, and that was the ancient homeland of the the Cherokee people. I didn't grow up in a traditional way, but I was always told from the time I was a little guy that I was Cherokee. I always identified with that. And going around the mountains, we come across plaques and things commemorating aspects of Cherokee history. You know, and there were three most important things in my life: is spirituality, art, and indigenous culture. Because I spent many years studying and participating in indigenous culture, and to me, it is one of the most important things to connect with at this time, because the indigenous people of this land had certain basic values that they lived their lives according to, and foremost among them is humility and respect. And these things are very much lacking, I feel, in our world today. And that's why I have taken on making journeys to distant lands to connect with different tribal peoples on different continents. And I've spent time with them. It's been a very, very important part of my life. I've received much blessings from. So I'm going to tell a few stories relating to my art. Some years ago, I would show at the Cherokee Heritage Center in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. You know, 20, 25 years, I taught American Indian arts, both as a artist in residence at different schools and museums, different kinds of venues across the country, and I was a teacher of American Indian arts in a high school in a Cherokee community in Oklahoma. And so in teaching the art, I would teach different indigenous art forms. Along with those, I started to tell stories, because this would impart some traditional knowledge and wisdom to the students, and also provide a subject matter for their art projects. And in this community, I had a good percentage of Cherokee students. And I was talking one day about, particularly it was cave art. And I was explaining, you know, these designs pertain to traditional knowledge, like, you know, Cherokee stories do. And the whole room gave me blank stares. I said, you know Cherokee stories? Blank stares. I said, you have heard Cherokee stories. Who here has heard Cherokee stories? Not one hand went bowed. And I said, this is sad that people are, these young ones are losing touch with their culture, which contains much wisdom. And I started making storytelling a big part of my teaching. So having immersed myself in Cherokee culture for some time, then I started to, my own stories started to come through. One time I did a sand painting. It's an indigenous art form, you know, particularly the Navajo, the Diné people are known for sand painting. It started as a spiritual ceremony, healing ceremony, where they would collect the things from nature, not just sand, but powdered turquoise and powdered charcoal, pollen, and that they would use in the sand painting designs, which represent the cosmic spiritual forces to invite them and bring them in for blessing and for healing. So then, back in the 20s, 30s, Navajo artists started to use sand and glue it onto boards, and they would change a design because you don't want to put the real spiritual design, but they would derive designs from that and paint. So I learned how to do that, and I still do that. I do some sand painting. I don't have any represented here. But one time I did a sand painting, and I entered it in the Trail of Tears show at the Cherokee Heritage Center in Tahlequah. And the way I paint, I don't think of titles. And I'm always faced with, when I'm entering something in a show, what's the title? I gotta think of something quick. So I did this sand painting, and it started out to be I was gonna do something about coyote. And by the time it was done, there was no coyote there. I said, oh, coyote, it's his nature. He's hiding behind that rock. So I named this painting after the main subject matter, which was a bluebird with the sun rising behind it. And there was a bear and some other animals. And so I said, bluebird sings the sun up. So I entered it, and that painting won an award. And I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to come up to me and say, what does that mean, bluebird sings the sun up? What's that story? I said, now I have to have a story. so a story came. And I made it into a book. I intended to publish it. But the story is, and I changed it all to verse, but the verse would take too long. It starts off, the old ones say the world was made in the fall of the year, at harvest time, when there were plenty of good things to eat, and the ripened grape was on the vine. When creator of all, made the sun to rise and shine in the sky, the plants to grow, the fish to swim, the animals to play, and the birds to fly. For all had a gift creator had given, for each a unique ability to sing a song, or snort a snort, or chirp a chirp, or climb a tree, and so forth. Because, you know, in traditional Cherokee culture, they say, the world, the creation of the world, was in the fall. Different cultures have different New Year's, but in Cherokee, they say the world was created in the fall. Because any other time of year, what would the animals have to eat? So in the fall, when there was plenty, was when the world was created. And so the story goes that at the first day of creation, when the Creator made all the animals, He gave each a unique gift. Each creature had something. And they spent that first day exploring and finding their gifts. Snakes could crawl through the grass. Squirrels could climb trees. Dolphins diving in the ocean. And the birds, all the birds had their song. So there was the little bluebird. He flew around and he watched all day long, that first day, and listened to the beautiful songs that all the birds sang. Well, as the day went on, the sun went across the sky, and it started to dip below the horizon, and everyone became worried. This was the first day. They'd seen the sun rise, but now the sun was going away. The sun is leaving. And the eagle was the chief of the bird tribes. He called all the birds together in a big oak tree. He sat at the top and he said, "The sun is leaving, look." He said, "We must stop her." No, Cherokees think of the sun as being a woman. So we need to bring her back. And I have an idea. Let each one of us sing the beautiful song. I know the sun, everyone likes music. The sun may come back if we do that. And so all through that night, the different birds took turns singing. And they sang their song. And the mockingbird, he had lots of songs because he mimicked everyone else's songs. We had to shut him up after a while. Okay, that's enough. The whippoorwill, he got carried away too. If you've ever heard of whippoorwill, they can go on for hours. But finally, all the birds had sang their song. And then, it seemed like everyone had sung. And the eagle said, "Well, we've heard very beautiful music tonight, but the sun hasn't come back. I think there's one of us who hasn't sung. It's the little bluebird." And the bluebird started to hear her name. She was very shy. She said, but I can't sing." And the eagle said, "Well, have you tried? If you haven't tried, how do you know what you can do?" And the birds all said, "Bluebird, please sing a song. We need your help." And the bluebird overcame her shyness, then opened her beak, sang one high note, and at that moment there was a glimmer of light on the horizon. And the birds all became excited, flapping their wings. "Bluebird, it's working, sing more, sing more." And then she sang more, and there came more light. The more she sang, the more light there came, until she just opened up and expressed all the love and joy that was in her heart. The sun rose above the horizon, and everyone was joyful. And they say to this day, if you go out in nature and you sleep in the woods or meadows, nothing but stars, moon over your head, it'll probably be the song of the bluebird that you hear the first thing in the morning, because she still believes it's her song that brings the sun. So, I went to art school early. I didn't like art school. And I dropped out and embarked on a spiritual quest. I went to India. And I met many great saints of India. I met this man, Richard Alper, came around us. I spent a lot of time with him. So I spent time with Satya Sai Baba, and Crowley Baba, met Anandamayi Ma, many the other great saints of India, the mother of Aurobindo Ashram. And even before I went to India, I was searching. I even met these people, these Jewelry people, back then. So it was one of those synchronicities when I came here to find them here. Because it had been many years since I had connected with them, because I had some very miraculous things happen through Jewelry. But when I returned from India, I felt, I had achieved great spiritual states, but I felt ungrounded. And that's when I decided to connect with my native heritage, and I sought out teachers, different tribes. And one of the groups that had a great effect on me was called the White Roots of Peace, which is based on the teachings of the peacemaker who came to the Haudenosaunee people, the Iroquois. And those people traveled around the country giving these teachings. And then I met Rolling Thunder, who was a Cherokee medicine man. And then I studied with Cheyenne, Arapaho, Lakota, which, didn't choose it like that, but those were the two tribes that fought Custer. And so I learned about them, and then I wound up for eastern Oklahoma, where I connected with the Cherokee Nation, and taught for some time there. So I feel like I have a lot of streams in my ancestry and my spiritual ancestry coming together here in Creston, because when I came here, it was quite amazing that I had all these synchronistic experiences of meeting people and these groups that I had connection with. Now, I'll tell you a story about the art and indigenous culture. To me, bringing those together is very important. So, when I was teaching as an artist in residence in Arkansas, I was having dinner at a friend's house, and I was introduced to a man there who was an artist, and he said, "What are you working on?" I said, "I'm working on something for the Trail of Tears show." And my ears perked up. I said, "What Trail of Tears show?" He said, "Oh, well, the Department of Arkansas Heritage and the American Indian Center of Arkansas are having a competition for a piece of art that best expresses the Trail of Tears, and they want to use it in educational materials and markers for the Trail of Tears, because Arkansas is the only state that all 5 civilized tribes came through on the Trail of Tears." Now, those of you who don't know who the 5 civilized tribes are, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole, Creek, and Chickasaw are the 5 civilized tribes. And they were called that because they, early on, had contact with the white Europeans, and they adopted a lot of their culture, including become very Christianized, They were farmers who lived very much in the early 1800s like their white neighbors did. But the government wanted to get rid of them. And they got a group of Cherokees to sign a paper. Well, the Cherokees fought that. They had become a lot of Cherokees very literate. After Sequoyah came out with his Cherokee syllabary, within a year, 90% of the Cherokee people could read and write, which was a much greater percentage than the white people. But it didn't stop the government from taking their land. So the government forcibly removed many Cherokee and put them in corrals like animals. And many of them marched, and a quarter of the tribe died on the Trail of Tears. I'll just show you the mask that I made. This is the Trail of Tears mask. It's made out of gourd. So anyway, then there's this competition. So I decided, well, I need to enter something. And I went home that night and said, what's the quickest thing I could do? I only had 3 days to the deadline. And so I did a pencil drawing. And the next night I did another one. The next night I did another. The next day was the deadline. I drove it to Little Rock, like 5 hours. I got there and the door was closed. And I knocked on the door. I said, I drove 5 hours to enter this. And I said, bring it. And I went in and oh my God, like hundreds and hundreds of entries of well-known artists. And I didn't hear from them for weeks. I gave it up. And then I got a call. So I actually won that competition. It was a sizable cash prize, which was presented to me by the First Lady of Arkansas at a Native American celebration in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So that was all very fine for me, but a couple of years went by, and I didn't hear anything about that. And I called up the Department of Arkansas Heritage, and I said, you remember me? I won that competition. Has that project been completed? You know, you're going to make markers for the Trail of Tears. She said, well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that was a part of the Millennium Legacy Trails program, which was initiated by Hillary Clinton. And when George Bush got in office, he cut all the funding for it. And it never got done. So that's one of many examples of how much Native culture is really valued by the powers that be in this country. So the way I think about things is like a young person gives me advice. I would say, you know, do something that you're passionate about, but also do something for the world. Do something for your people. So, a little story about a Cherokee. His name was Sally. He lived up in the mountains, in the Smoky Mountains, and he had a farm where his family had lived for generations peacefully. And when the soldiers came in to round up the Cherokee, they came in, they would come in houses in the middle of dinner, and they would say, the bandits, come on, you gotta go. And they'd march them out of their homes. So Charlie, they were walking on the trail, he said to his sons in Cherokee, we're not going to go along with this. When I give you the signal, turn on these soldiers, which they did. And then the ensuing scuffle, a soldier got shot. And Charlie took his family and they hid up in the mountains in caves. And there was General Winfield Scott was the American general in charge of the removal. And he sent a message to Charlie, if you come in and give yourself up, we won't hunt down all the Cherokees that we know are hiding in the mountains. So Charlie came in and gave himself up. He said, he gave himself as a sacrifice, so to speak. And he said, you know, to tell my little son, don't go beyond the farther waters, stay in the land of your people. And so they put a fire in his blood. He said, I have a last request. He said, let me die by the hands of my own people. So they appointed Cherokee men to shoot. And he said, and I ask that you sing Amazing Grace. And so this is Amazing Grace in Cherokee. The words are different from the it's very much more beautiful, really. I sometimes work in using imagery, especially from native culture, and I never take anything, I do my own versions of it. And I like to work abstract art. I feel most free. And if you look at some of these paintings, you know, the abstraction may not say anything to you. Sometimes it's pure abstraction like these. And like the triptych in the back, you know, what I did was in working with these paintings, I would make, like, I work with, like, you know, Leonardo da Vinci said the basis of art is geometry. Geometry is very important to him. And so the way I have taught a lot is like starting out with shapes and turning those shapes into whatever you want them to become or whatever you see in them. And so that triptych was done like that. It didn't start out with a story, but it became a story. The first one on the left is it's called In the Beginning. It has a lot of aspects from native culture, including the woman falling from the sky, which is a story from the Haudenosaunee. There was a woman who fell from the heaven world to earth, and from her body came everything that proceeded from that in the earth. She seeded the earth. And so that's In the Beginning. And the second one is Dreaming the World. Because, you know, I think we all collectively, this world is our collective dream. You know, that we are all creators of this. And there's a lot of personal story in that painting. You know, there's Shiva and Shakti too. There's Shiva in the sky and Shakti. And so there's aspects of my time in the East that along with Native American. And then the third one is Into the Heart of Love. Love. To me, it's like the bird is symbol of the spirit that has learned its lessons in this dream and is now flying into the infinite. And this painting over here is also done in that way. I started out making shapes. And so sometimes I'll work with, you know, make shapes and things will emerge. And then I'll go with that and turn it into it. With this painting, I tried to stay away from turning it into something, even if I saw that. But I was not successful. But I was successful because when it was done and I looked at it, well, there is stuff in there, you know. And what I see is a donkey and someone riding that donkey. And I realized that, see, I feel the unconscious comes forth in whatever you do. And so this is called Entry to the City, because I'll tell you a story about the donkey. I had a Navajo uncle, Dene, Uncle Jeff, and he was a very good man. You know, he was always there to help people, and he had a ceremonial way. And my uncle, you know, he always wore a cowboy hat, and he liked to laugh, and he loved people, and he helped out a lot of people. Well, one day, looking at his altar, I said, that's a moon? He says, not a moon. It was made out of sand. He said, I said, what is it? It's a footprint. I said, what kind of footprint? He said, a donkey. I said, a donkey? Why a donkey? Well, you know, there's an old story from our tribe. It says, when the Creator made heaven and earth, He made all the life upon it, made all the animals, and He had some parts left over. So He put those all together. So that became the donkey. That's why we consider that a sacred animal. That's why he looks disproportionate. His legs are too short, his ears are too big, not teeth. He says, but he's a sacred animal because he represents all the others in one. So he said, you know, white men, they have that too. So they do. It's in your Bible. It is. What animal did the Son of God choose to ride on when he went into Jerusalem? I said, you know, I've heard in a ceremony we're praying for blessings. One time a donkey brayed, and people laughed. I said, you've been praying for blessings and you didn't get it when it came. That was a blessing. So, some few years ago, my uncle was killed in an automobile accident. A driver ran into him. About 6 months after that, I went to India because I was visiting with some tribes up in the Northeast. And when I was leaving, I was in Delhi, and I was walking down the street, and I saw this shop that had these really nice boutique shirts. They all had Hindu gods, mostly. That's what they were. I said, those are nice. I know in ashram they might like those. So I ordered a box. I got back, and that box arrived, unpacking it. The very last thing, shirt. On the bottom, had a donkey on it. A donkey. Wearing a cowboy hat and laughing. I put it on, it didn't fit me. My uncle had sent me a blessing. That's what I felt about This does tell a couple of little short stories, and I'll wrap it up. You know, the importance of art. Like, you know, the government, they don't think art's very important. You know, they want to cut funding all the time. We don't need that. We don't need that. You know, art's a very important thing. It's how our spirits play and have fun. There's a lot of learning involved in that. And there's a beautiful, true story from Russia. And during the siege of Stalingrad, you know, they had the Hermitage Museum. There was a famous art museum. And they decided to take all the art out and to hide it in the mountains. And all of the art was removed. There was nothing but frames hanging in the Hermitage. And there was a man who stayed with the museum. He was a guard. And one day there was a knock on the front door. And he went to the door and there was 2 soldiers there. He said, can I help you? He said, we come from long, long away. We've always heard all our lives about the beautiful art here in this museum. And now we're here and wonder, could we please see it? He said, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the art has all been removed. Only have our frames here because they took it to hide it in the mountains so the Germans don't get it. He said, but you have been here a long time. Oh yeah, I've worked at this museum for 30 years. So you know this art. Yes, could you describe it to us? And so this guard took them on a tour, all the museum from frame to frame, describing to them what was in that frame. The next day there's a knock on the door, and there's some blind people there. So, we heard you can tell us about these paintings that we can't see. And the crowd got bigger every day. Through all the rest of the war, every day, these men would take people on a virtual tour of the museum. So, I'm going to wrap it up here and give you a chance to mingle and look at the art, maybe, hopefully. Are there any questions that anybody might have on their mind?
Can you describe a few of these?
Oh yes,
The
I'm
art.
glad you mentioned that. I didn't talk about the masks.
Yeah.
And the masks, I started doing masks, like these gourds over here. I started out painting them, and then I started carving designs in them, using wood burning and carving tools. And then I started growing my own gourds. And as I walked among the gourds, I felt I was being watched. And I'd look at a gourd and there would be a bear, or a wolf, or a coyote. And so I started to bring them out. So that's how I started to do these masks. And gourds are a very wonderful thing. And I believe the gourd was the first art form. And the reason I believe that is that, anthropologists have a theory that the gourd was the first cultivated plant. Because when hunting and gathering people picked berries and dug roots and stuff, they needed a container, and the gourd was a naturally occurring container. So then, sitting around a fire in the wintertime, you got your water gourd, and you put a mark on it to distinguish it from others, like this is mine. And then they started making more designs. And so that's how gourd art came about. So they have found like 2,000-year-old gourds in caves with designs on them. And if you look at some of the ancient native culture of the Americas, a lot of the pottery was made like a gourd to the extent of having a stem on the top of it. I've seen those in museums. So, working with gourds to me was a kind of a spiritual thing, connecting with a lineage. Unless, okay. I'm going to end with a poem. It came from the educational literature. It's a book about a Cherokee boyhood in the Smoky Mountains, and when I read that, it's so much about my own childhood. And so, in that story, there's an old man, old Cherokee named Little John, and he represents the last of the traditional Cherokees who are dying out. And he took a young boy under his wing to teach him. So there's a poem that goes, and it has last days, Little John is fading away. It says, will you walk a ways with me, Little John? Not far, a mile or two at ending of your time. We'll not talk or tell the bitter of the years, maybe laugh occasionally, or find a cause for tears, or something lost we both might find. Will you set a spell with me, Little John? Not long, a moment measured by your time on earth. We'll pass a look or two, and we both will know and understand the feeling. So when we go, we'll take comfort that we ken the other's worth. Will you linger at our leaving, Little John, just for me? Lingering reassures and comforts those apart, and helps to quench the quickened tears with remembrance of you in later years, and softens some the haunting of the hearts. My own song is a Vision Quest song, came to me on Vision Quest. Yes, I make those instruments. There's one over there in the case. They're gourd drums. It's my own design.
SD, what else is behind the screen here?
Yeah, there's 4 more masks on the other side of the screen.
Oh,
Well, there's three masks in the painting back there, so don't miss that.
Just one other question, that picture there representing, I know that picture behind you, just, yeah.
That's my ayahuasca experience in Peru. I traveled in Peru in 2012 and visited sacred sites like a pilgrimage, some wonderful ancient sites in Peru. And I did ceremonies with native peoples there, including the Shipibo, which was in the, I actually went to the Amazon for that, so that painting came up. I did several paintings while I was there, it's one of them.
What about that one?
Which one, this one? Well, that's one of those things where I just started making shapes and see what emerges out of it, and it's like this Kachina spirit emerged. And I call that the hub of the world. Yes. Oh, blocking out the sun.
Do you have titles on all of those?
Yes.
Could you tell us what they are?
The titles?
As you go around?
Okay, hub of the world. This one is a totemic composition. This is a colored pencil. I just started drawing, and that's what came up. And I forget sometimes. It's receiving the gift. It's like receiving the spiritual gift, where the spirit in native art is often represented by a bird. I find a lot of birds emerge in my art. And actually, in this mask right here, this is a puma, and this was influenced by Andean culture, where if you look at some of the old architecture, you see again and again, you see the serpent, the puma, and the kama, which represent the lower world. This world is the puma, and the upper world, the condor. So I put them together in that mask. So there's the puma and the sword, the bird, and then on the sides are the serpents.
This is
So just a question on that drawing there, the lady that blue was representing, is there any representation of the blue?
It's just a representation of the
There?
human spirit,
Oh,
the individual being blessed by
okay.
divine spirit. And this one is called the Golden Land. It's like, to me, I love this painting because it's warm. It makes you feel warm to look at it, even though there's no real symbolism or representation in it, other than the shape and the color, which is good. I think that's a good abstract painting. And this one is Spiral Space. It's just abstract shapes. And this is the Bear Chief mask. And it has a bird descending here, and one flying upward. It's the medicine wheel. And we call it Bear Chief because there are many Cherokee stories that involve the Bear Chief. He's the chief of the animals. And then this is also a bear mask with some shapes that were inspired by the mound builder culture. And the wolf is one of my favorite pieces, one of the first gourd masks that I made. And then on the other side here, when you get around to it, there's a gentle warrior mask, an abstract painting, and a medicine woman and Trail of Tears. And then I already described the triptych and that one. And the other one's just like, that's the Taos Gorge and the visitation of the White Eagle. And then there's some gourds over there. There's not a lot of stories like this with those.
Thank you.
Thank you.